Okay. Hello again, everybody. So we're back. We've been on a little hiatus. It's been the holidays, and now we're going to be back and talk about sort of, I guess you could say, one of the sort of classic COVID related films, the
COVID
pandemic
watch
films.
list, yeah.
Yeah, it's like this. What's the other one? Contagion, and I forget. There's like another one where like the one that's like super accurate, where they go, the woman goes to China and then she comes back, she's got the
Outbreak.
virus. Yeah. Well, oh, so yeah. So Contagion was the one. Outbreak is the one from the 90s.
Hmm.
Yeah, Contagion is the one from the 2000s. That's like dead on what happened basically, because it's a bat to a pig to a person. They like predicted the future. Uh, yeah, this is a little different future. So this film is about Will Smith and a dog in a post-apocalyptic New York. Yeah. So what's really to me interesting about this film is like Will Smith at the peak of his powers, right?
Hmm.
Because this is a massive blockbuster film. I mean, this thing had a huge budget. They spent millions. Like, there's one shot in this that's like $5 million. And they shut down massive parts of New York to shoot what they shot in this movie. And it's just Will Smith. I mean, this is the peak of him. It's $150 million movie that's just Will Smith, and it worked.
Hmm.
I mean, wow, right?
Oh, it
And a
works
dog
on.
too.
Oh yeah, the dog definitely helps out, but it's like it works on like an action movie thriller sort of way, and then on just like a human way, emotional. It has a lot of things going for it, and I feel like sometimes movies when there's just one person and not an ensemble, it can be. I feel like audiences think it might be kind of boring because you're only staring at the same person for an hour and a half. But I think it's probably a really exciting venture for a actor to perform because you're not performing with anybody else. You have to give it your all. And I thought he did a really good job.
Yeah, he really, like, there's a lot in his shoulders, right? If you just think about this movie, because it's basically a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big budget horror movie with these kind of zombie vampire things as the antagonists, and they look pretty weird in this movie. They certainly don't look as good as what we can do now with the kind of the same motion capture technology.
Yeah, it didn't age very well, which is unfortunate. But I also heard that putting them in makeup made them look kind of silly too. So they were just kind of working with what would have been best at the time. And at the time, I'm sure in 2007, it looked fantastic. But yeah, it hasn't aged that well. There's some shots of like when Butterfly, the character Butterfly, that one is like on the table and she's like hyperventilating and she's breathing and there's some close-ups of her face. I feel like she looked the best in those moments.
Yeah, that was for sure pretty good part of the film. There was definitely a lot of, because we don't see them a lot, which is good. We don't see these creatures for a while, and it's just Will Smith, and then we kind of like, oh, we get told like kind of what these things are slowly. It's revealed to us, which is a pretty good thing. Yeah, so just, I guess, to get into the plot. So this film opens, and we're basically told that, oh, it's this thing. It's like, oh, hey, we cured cancer and this and that, and it's awesome. We have this new thing. 3 years later, it's New York City, and there's no one there.
Yeah, it seemed like a really great thing at the time. Hey, we cured cancer, but it turns you into a zombie.
Yeah. What could go wrong? It turns out the cure creates something even worse than the illness.
Yep. The cure is worse than the disease.
Exactly, yeah. Well, it's funny, too. So I saw these things. It was they had these pictures of Times Square for New Year's this year in 2020 to 2021. Didn't look too different. There was no one there. There was no one there.
No.
So it's kind of funny in a kind of macabre way that,
One of my favorite things is when he's in Times Square and you see an old poster for a Batman versus Superman movie.
Oh, yeah.
That gave me chills. I was like, whoa, because there's the whole thing with the Snyder Cut coming out right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I was
yeah,
like,
they're There's some interest. I saw this thing, and there's another one. There is a poster for Green Lantern as
Oh,
well in this
I didn't
movie.
catch that one. There are some good Easter eggs in this movie. Some
There's
really good ones.
the Batman Superman one is like the best. That is such
Mhm.
a high level troll where people wanted it for forever, and this movie was supposed to be like 2012, I think.
I'm pretty
Was the
sure,
year?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and we didn't get that for another 4 years.
Still didn't get it.
Still didn't get it. Yeah, yeah. So there's some really fun stuff in this one. Yeah. So it's New York is deserted. We see this car driving through the city, and it's Will Smith, and so it's Will Smith hunting deer in a what was he's in a Mustang with his
Yeah, he's in
dog.
like a Ford Mustang or something like that.
Yeah. So yeah. So then they're riding after these deer, and this kind of basically gives us a sense of what the terrain is like. There's nothing there. There's all these like abandoned tanks and cars, and moss has grown over like the cityscape. It's totally decrepit. And then we see one of these deer get attacked by a lion,
Mm.
and then the lion, this whole thing was very interesting because like it gets attacked by a lion or lioness, because the female lions do all the hunting, and then the dad and some cub come out, and they're all basically going to feed on this deer, and he decides at that point to not like kill any of the lions. He just lets them feed and they leave.
Yeah,
Which is
because they're
interesting.
pretty skinny too. They don't look. I mean, like they're CGI lions, so it's not like
Yeah.
They don't look that great. But again, it probably looked good at the time. But yeah. Plus, like, was he really going to take on like even if a lion's like really hungry and skinny, it's still more powerful than you are. And yeah, it was a good idea for him to just back off and let him have it.
Yeah, I feel like this is sort of, it's thematically, it's like, he basically lost his family, so he doesn't want to mess up this lion family. Just let them go.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is New York City now. It's deer and lions, and it's kind of interesting. I mean, how would the lions get? I mean, maybe I guess they jumped out of the zoo or something.
I'm assuming eventually, like with society breaking down, maybe they were trying to transport them somewhere else and they got out. I mean, eventually animals will find a way out if they're hungry enough, if the opportunity presents itself. Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense that there'd be wild animals roaming around everywhere because also it gives you that sense of nature's taking everything back again too.
Yeah. Life finds a way, right?
Exactly. Life finds a way.
So what'd you think of these scenes of the desolate New York? How did they look?
Oh, I thought they looked really good. Like you can definitely tell when they're on a soundstage and when they're not, because they couldn't obviously shut down all of Manhattan. I read that Will Smith made a public apology to the residents of Manhattan, being like, "I'm really sorry we shut your city down and inconvenienced your lives," basically. But no, I thought it looked really cool. Like it was definitely that post society breakdown look that you come to know from movies like this, and it looked good.
Yeah, I read some of that stuff too. It seemed like New Yorkers were not happy to see him shutting down, like because they'd shut down a whole street and then shoot on that street, and he said like people were flipping him off or something.
Yeah, people were flipping him off. They were filming him and flipping him off because it's Will Smith, but like fuck you, dude. You're ruining my day, basically.
Yeah.
Because people in studios film in major cities all the time, or they replace it with something that looks similar. Like I know a lot of places film in Toronto because you can make it seem like, oh, we're in Chicago, we're in New York, we're in Boston, whatever. But it seemed like they really wanted that authentic Manhattan feel to it, and I feel like they definitely got it.
They definitely got it. Yeah, yeah. Those scenes are pretty impressive in terms of the scale.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like we were talking about, there's the Batman v Superman logo is in Times Square, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so like that, but that's a timeline where they're about to get it and then the world ends.
Yeah, I wonder, like, was it ever actually released? Like, did people ever actually get to see it? Is there some survivor who's like, I never got to see Batman versus
Yeah,
Superman?
just man, I just really it's gonna be such a great movie, man. It sucked.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so then like his watch goes off and the sun is going down, so he goes back home basically. He lives in this New York townhouse, very nice New York townhouse, by the way. And then he like takes some detergent and washes down the steps, I guess, to make sure the things can't track him.
Yeah, was it vinegar he was using?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was
Yeah.
vinegar or something like that, something to hide his scent or his trail or something.
Yeah. And then we just basically see him at home with his dog Sam, and they're like eating dinner together.
Eat your vegetables.
Yeah, and just Sam won't eat the vegetables. Like, no, I don't want it.
I like how the dog like pokes at the food with her paw. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want this. Like, ew.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's kind of like he's still in dad mode with Sam. I feel like it's very much because she was a puppy and he lost his daughter and his wife. So this is what he has to care for. And he's, he definitely uses dad language. I feel like when they're like, make sure you eat your vegetables. Nope. Now you got to eat more vegetables tomorrow. And I like that moment in the tub with her when he's giving her a bath and she just seems so like put off.
Yeah, that was great. All that stuff is great, with him and the dog. And then like, so basically night falls and like everything in this house is steel reinforced. Like he's got these steel reinforcements on the front door and all the windows. And then he's in the tub with his dog Sam, and you can hear these creatures outside. It's pretty it's pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, the creature noises were definitely creepy. Like they were, ugh. I wouldn't want to hear that at all.
Yeah,
every
like
night.
every night you hear that, it's like, ugh, makes you go crazy. So then we get this flashback, and so it's the character is Robert Neville, and it's him and his wife and his daughter trying to escape New York. And they're basically like driving somewhere, and he's just talking to his wife about like, yeah, like, you know, things are going bad and you guys gotta go. And his daughter is actually played by his actual daughter Willow, which is cool. Like a very young
very young Willow Smith. Very young.
Yeah, just kind of, man, time. Whoa.
Makes you feel old.
Yeah, really. And so then he wakes up from the dream, and basically the dream ends with like a zombie attacking their car or something. But yeah, again, at this point, we haven't seen them at all. We don't know anything about what they're going to look like. We can just kind of guess. They come at night. They're really creepy. They sound really creepy. And we get this really quick shot of one just like face, headbutting the
car,
yeah. So yeah, he wakes up from the dream. He's working out. He's like doing pull-ups, and he puts the dog on a treadmill. And it's September 5th, 2012 is the year in this thing. And so he has this lab at his house, and he's doing all these experiments with these animals. So like rats. So he's starting with like rats or mice to try and find a cure for the disease. And there's a whole bunch of rats that just don't, it's not working. One of them does sort of seems to be taking to a cure. And so then he's, going to try and do more experiments. So this is kind of an interesting setup. So basically this guy's a scientist, right? And he's a scientist stuck on his own, out in the world by himself. What do you think of him, this character, like what we know at this point about him?
I think he's very, because I get the impression he was working on I think it's called like the Crippen vaccine or something like that. And he seems kind of regretful that obviously it didn't go very well, but very determined, because the whole thing throughout the movie is that he keeps like, I need to fix it, basically, because he feels like it's his fault when it really isn't. But no, I like his character because he is very determined and wants to just like do the right thing. But you're also seeing a scientist who has very limited resources and is trying to work with what he has, which is probably not a lot. It probably looks like a lot, but to him, it's incredibly limited, and he doesn't have a lot to go with. Also, he's got to be trapping rats, because we see later that these aren't the first. The one, is it a zombie? Can we call it a zombie?
Yeah. Zombies probably pretty. They have a term for them. This like dark seekers or something like that.
Yeah, the dark seeker. Obviously he's caught dark seekers before. So that's also very limited, because he doesn't have like a team to help him catch them. So he's got to be incredibly careful when he comes to dealing with them. Because he's so isolated. So yeah, the limited resource thing is, and top of the isolation, is just.
Yeah.
I think he's already starting to crack a little bit when we meet him.
Yeah, he has some coping mechanisms. A lot of it, like you said, like he talks to his dog Sam like she's a person, you know, like she's his daughter, basically.
Exactly.
And it seems like he has a set routine.
Yes, a very strict routine that he follows.
He has a certain amount of time outside, and then he spends that, you know, hunting or, you know, recreationally, or trying to probably find these mice and rats and catch the dark seekers that he can do experiments on.
And he includes Sam in his whole routine as well, except for when he's down in the basement in his lab. Like, he makes sure that she doesn't go down there, because it's definitely not safe. And plus, he wants to keep it very sanitary, so it makes sense that he doesn't want her down there. But like, he puts her on the treadmill too. Like, he wants to keep her fit. This is a dog that seems like she's in her prime, like when she's at her most athletic, her most healthy. So I like that he tries to keep her just as fit, you know, no fat, make sure she's got good muscle tone and everything like that. So I like that he also incorporated her. She's not just like a couch potato dog.
Yeah, they're a team.
Exactly. They're a team. Like, one can't function without the other. You know, if something happens to him, something will inherently happen to her. Yeah. So, or vice versa, because towards the end, the middle of the movie, we see how much of a team they really are.
Yeah. Okay, so then we see him in his sort of daily life. He's just kind of riding around New York, and then he goes to his video rental store, and he like, I'm pretty sure, so he set up these mannequins or whatever, as if they're people. So he set up 2 mannequins like outside of the video rental store, and then he set up a couple of them inside, like a guy at the counter, and then there's this one with like black hair, and he's like infatuated with her.
Yeah, because it's to create like this weird sense of normalcy for him, because he calls them by name. He's obviously grown a little attached in a lot of ways, and you can see that his like whole demeanor changes when he goes to the video store. Like, he's actually excited and he likes interacting with these mannequins.
Yes.
There's just some creepy mannequins though. Those are some. I don't like mannequins.
We get some really creepy moments with these mannequins. Like one later on that's like.
Yeah.
Really.
But yeah, and he has a scenario where he thinks a woman is cute, and that's like a normal thing. I also think it's good that he's always trying to rent and watch something different, also to keep his mind occupied, maybe to also create another sense of normalcy.
Yeah. There was this other part too where it seems like he's playing all these broadcasts from different days on television. So as if it's the next day.
Yep, like the Today Show or something like that.
Yep. And someone even, I saw this thing where it was almost like he basically took them right out of, 30 Rock. Like, he went to 30 Rock and took the hard disk and got the actual recording, and just he's just like, play September 5th, play September 6th.
Exactly. I mean, he could too. That's the thing. Like some of the artwork that he has, like he has Van Gogh's
Yes.
like Starry Night. So like maybe he went to a museum and grabbed some art to save it, not just to make his apartment look pretty, but in some way to preserve it.
Yeah, to preserve it. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good thing that you brought up, because yeah, his whole apartment's just full of all these basically like items or whatever, he's got all this stuff that's like very culturally important or historically important or something.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a guy who's got all of New York City at his fingertips, and he can just take whatever he wants, right? So
exactly. So, and it makes sense that because he's a scientist and obviously wants to preserve important elements of human history, and
so then we get this other scene where it's him and the dog are on an aircraft carrier, and he's playing golf, or at least practicing his woods, as it were. And then the dog sees a deer, and so then they chase after the deer, and then the dog chases the deer into this dark sort of room or hallway or something.
Yeah, and he immediately panics. Like,
yeah, he's like, no,
don't go in there.
So then he has to follow after the dog, and we quickly find out that the Dark Seekers are in there.
Yeah, it's like a nest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because which makes sense, right? Because like they're just gonna, while the sun is out, they're gonna go somewhere that's dark, and then once the sun goes down, they're gonna come out and do their thing. And this is like the first really kind of scary moment of the film, like really, really scary, because like it's him, he's in this place, and then he's got this flashlight on his gun, and he kind of turns one way and he sees just like 2 dozen of them standing in a corner, just huddled together. And yeah, so he's like really in it, right, to save his dog.
Yeah, and he can't necessarily always have the light shining, so he has to put his hand like over the flashlight that's attached to his gun. Otherwise, he'll give himself away, because they're hurt by light. They don't like it,
Mm-hmm.
so they're gonna not react very well to his presence. So yeah, that was a very, very tense scene. This is also another one of those movies that doesn't really have a musical score, so it builds the tension because like musical cues tend to get an audience ready for like a jump scare or something like that. And when he turns the corner and you just see that massive bodies just huddled together, it's so creepy. It's
super, because like you said, there is no score, and so it's just like boom out of nowhere, and you're just like, oh.
It's almost better when there's no score, because it definitely does help build that tension.
Yeah, this does a great job of building the tension. And so then he finds Sam, his dog, and then he's kind of getting her out, and then he basically tells her to run or whatever, because they just gotta run, because he gets like attacked by one of the Dark Seekers, and he's on like the 3rd floor of this building, and he's basically forced to just jump out the window, because they start running after him. And there's this great shot where he's running, and then you see one kind of come over his shoulder, like over his like right shoulder or something. But then he just jumps out the window, and then he falls to the ground, and he's able to make it, and the other ones just they just die from the sun, right?
Yeah, the sun exposure really just kind of instantly fries them in a way. Like you can kind of see it as they're falling, that it's already affecting it immediately, and he just kind of lays down and dies, kind of a thing.
Yeah, and that's the first time we really see the Dark Seekers, what they look like. That's the first time we see that one out in the sun. And yeah, so he narrowly escapes this thing because he had to save his dog, because without her, he'd just basically go crazy.
Oh yeah. Well, even at one point when he's in there, he's like, Sam, I gotta go. Like he's like talking to himself, like he's considering leaving her, but he keeps going. Like he's not gonna leave her. Like,
yeah, it's really well done, because like at first, right, the first thing we see is like some blood, this massive splatter of blood. And we're like, oh, is she already dead? But it's the deer. The deer got killed by like one of them, basically.
Yeah, I'm assuming it got killed, and then you kind of see him approaching something that looks similar to a dog's muzzle, but it's really just like the face of the deer as it comes closer into focus, and then I think it gets dragged away or something like that.
I think a dark seeker basically takes it, but then that one goes like there's a stairwell, and I think it goes either down or it goes the opposite direction where he needs to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he keeps falling because I mean, you know, you'd be like, hey, maybe my dog's already dead, but then he just keeps going deeper and deeper into this thing. That was a pretty effective scene for sure. And so then after that, we see him set a trap for one of the dark seekers. He like sets up this thing where it's basically like a snare and like a weight with this sort of this black bag, so that when it gets taken out of the out into the sun, it won't just die immediately.
Yeah.
And with some of his blood, so they're very vampiric, right? Because they want people's blood.
Yeah, which is something that I was a little vague on, like, because at one point in the movie he says they eat people and they cannibalize and things like that. They want blood, but how are they? If there's no other people around, they don't obviously cannibalize themselves, right?
Okay.
You know, they might if they get really desperate, but I suspect that they feed on animals.
Yeah, that's true, because they eat the deer and things like that, so that's what they go for. I just wasn't sure if it was like if one of them's weak and then they pick on the weak one, or if because they're obviously trying to bite people because that's how it spreads. So, okay, that was just something I was a little vague on, because like they obviously already have some kind of community if they're not going after one another, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, for sure. It is a little like they're just sort of like this force, right? And we just don't. There's a lot of things we don't know. We don't know. Yeah, we don't know what's sustaining them. All we know is they want to kill humans, and it seems like they want to drink the blood of living creatures, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he sets this trap. The trap works. And one of these interesting things in this is like, so he traps this one Darkseeker, and we see one of them just like gets really mad, right?
Yeah.
The called the Alpha Darkseeker gets like really mad and just like screams at him out the door.
Yeah, and he like exposes himself to sunlight. Like you see his face start burning, and that's the only reason why he goes back in. I thought the jaw extension was a little cartoony, because human jaws, zombie or not, don't extend that far. And I get the screaming part of it. Like the screaming I was like okay with, because like it's inhuman, they're in pain, they have a virus that is completely made them feral creatures. They looked rubbery, I guess is the way. It looked like putty being stretched, and I didn't care for it.
It reminded me of do you remember The Mummy, like the Brendan Fraser Mummy?
Yeah, the Mummy, when his like
yeah.
which like it's fine because that's like supernatural, so like I get it, but like they're still zombies. They still have human elements, and the jaw like stretching was just a little too much, because your jawbone doesn't extend that far. It just doesn't.
Yeah, these Darkseekers, I don't know what to do with them. I don't know what to do with them.
No. But it is an interesting moment, because even then he's seeing that there might be something changing with them, but he doesn't really want to acknowledge it, because he thinks that they're animals basically at that point.
Yeah, he doesn't. Well, we kind of see his psychology of how he views them later. But yeah, he sees them as just animals, basically, just animals. And yeah, he doesn't think anything of them. So yeah, he takes this one, which is like he takes her to the lab. He starts experimenting on her, and then we get like another scare kind of thing where it's like he starts doing stuff to her and she just freaks out, right? And that stuff's kind of cool. then we see like there's. Oh, you want to say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say you kind of feel bad for her in a moment. You get the sense that he feels sympathy or pity for her because when he sees the tattoo, because I feel like things like that humanize whatever
Yes.
she is now. It wasn't what
Mhm.
she always was, and it's a sad moment because she was a person at one point, and
Yes.
that tattoo meant something to her, whatever it was. And the theme of butterflies like continuously
Mhm.
pops up. Like Sam like sees one at one point. His
Yes.
daughter draws one, and the tattoo itself is
Mhm.
pretty significant.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, he says that basically she's like an 18-year-old woman at this point. Yeah, and so this is a very young person who like right who just like had your whole life ahead of you, and then you turn into a dark-seeking zombie thing.
Yeah, it's in that moment where he's probably wondering like who was she and did she have plans? Did she have a future? Was she in college? Was she a dropout? Was she a drug addict? It doesn't really matter. It our brains start wondering things like that.
Yeah.
And I think in that moment he does have like a pang of sympathy for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you see like we get this sort of shot of his he wears this lab coat and it says Lieutenant Colonel Robert Neville Virology. So yeah, he was like right, he was a big deal.
Oh yeah, like he was top brass, like, and virology is the study of viruses, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of it's just watching this again, like, because there are people like that, right, in the world today, and that's what they're doing, right? They're trying to figure out, like, they were just trying to figure out how to create a vaccine for COVID.
There was a task force. Is a task force? We don't know. Are they even trying at this point?
So one of the things too that we get from this scene is so basically, he is immune from the disease. He has immunity, complete immunity. And then he says that animals are immune to the airborne virus. So this thing is crazy. So basically, there's an airborne virus, and then there's also like the zombie part of the virus. So if the zombie bites you, you get like that's
it.
That's a double whammy.
So is he immune to the airborne one?
He's immune to both, I believe.
He's immune to both. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the lions aren't affected by it, and Sam isn't affected by the airborne one, but they can still be affected if they get bit.
Yeah. So if they attacked the lion and bit it, it would turn into zombie or Darkseeker or whatever.
No, that would be freaking scary.
that would be horrific.
Yeah. Super vampire lion going after you.
Yeah, vampire lion. Yeah. So yeah, he's totally immune. But Sam the dog is not. So again, which is why he kind of keeps her out of the lab. So then we get another flashback. So this is the shot that was like $5 million. It's them. They're in front of like I think it's the Brooklyn Bridge, and he's about to send his wife and his kid off to get on this helicopter to get the hell out of New York because it's New York's over.
Yeah.
New York is over. Like that's the only way to put it, basically. And so there's this whole thing where it's him and his his daughter. Him and his daughter get through, but the wife, they're like, no, they scan her.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
I mean, like all this stuff is like so crazy because like this is a real thing, right? The scanning people and stuff, like that is a real thing. Like that could really happen to
Contact tracing, dude.
Yeah.
They're talking about it now.
And then there was this great scene where like there's this woman and she's like, "Oh, take my kid," and she's bleeding. Her face is bleeding. She's bleeding out of her eyes.
Yeah, she's like really pale. She looks sickly. She's bleeding out of her eyes, and it's really horrible. And he like, that's when he really throws his like weight around with like, this is who I am, and you're going to scan her again.
Yeah.
And it's fine. But that was a very, very tense moment.
Yeah, he's like, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Robert Neville. You scan her again.
Yeah, and that's when that herd mentality or that mass hysteria will really, really kick in. All it takes is one person to start screaming and raising their voice, and everybody freaks out.
Yeah, and as we saw with COVID, like, you know, New York City was like basically one of the worst hit places.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, shit's real. Like, it really gets bad.
Well, you remember, I don't know if you saw it, but there was that video of when the Red Cross boat like finally got to New York, and it was like, it's crazy that it was like they were waiting for a Red Cross boat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's so insane that is something that happened. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, we had to take people and put them on a boat because you don't have enough capacity.
Ugh.
Which is crazy.
It's crazy. It's so horrible.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy, like how kind of close to reality these things are, and you just think, oh, haha, whatever, right?
It's just
like
a movie.
Yeah. Like I'm sure when I saw this when it came out, I was like, okay, sure, there'll be people freaking out. Sure, there'll be planes flying and all this. It's like, no, yeah, there will be the military. There will be total chaos. There will be panic, hysteria. It's, yeah.
Yeah, because it's sad. Like, you can't count on people in a group or in a crowd. You can't. Like, all it takes is one person. That's all it takes.
People hoarding toilet paper.
Yeah, people were literally hoarding toilet paper. Like,
literally hoarding toilet paper. It's almost kind of sad, right? Because like when you think about that,
it's so depressing. Like,
it's super depressing.
Like, there were women beating each other up in Walmart. They were knocking old ladies down. They were just calling ahead and buying out all of the stock so nobody else could. Like,
it's almost makes you realize it's even worse, because this is, you know, something like this where, I mean, people are just going to kill each other, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, people were buying ammunition,
mm-hmm.
buying guns. Like,
mm-hmm.
Didn't gun sales like go through the roof or something like that?
I'm sure they did.
Like,
but the scare, you know, honestly, and I saw, I forget where I saw this, but like the crazy thing about America is the problem. So there's these mass people buy a lot of guns, right? The thing that really happens is they run out of ammunition. There have been multiple times where they ran out of ammo, just ran out, didn't have enough. That's what
you have to stock up on.
Yeah, that's what people say. It's crazy. It's crazy. So it's pandemonium. But he's able to get his family into the helicopter. And then his daughter gives him.
Oh my God. When she's like, Sam will protect you, I was like, this is it. That was the first Waterworks moment for me, is when she's like, Sam will protect you, and she's just this little puppy. And
this little puppy, yeah. And
if I get a little choked up, it will. It most likely will happen. I'll probably get choked up.
Yeah. Well, when we talk about the scene, we'll. Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah. That dog saves his life. Basically, the dog saved his life.
No, he's really lucky his daughter gave him that dog. He
absolutely. Like, it's just, that's a really well done part of the film. Yeah, and then we see like these planes shoot missiles into the Brooklyn Bridge. It's like,
it's like bad time to do that, guy. Like, helicopters are still taking off. You couldn't have waited until they gave you the all clear, that all the choppers were clear, and it's like, no, we're just gonna blow up the Brooklyn Bridge so nobody can get out.
It's like the Dark Knight Rises or some shit.
Well, literally, like, we had a superhero trying to stop people from blowing up a bridge, and now it's just do it. We don't want people getting out, so. Yeah.
Cool. So then the next day, it's his birthday. And then, he does this whole thing where he's like talking to Samantha. It's like, oh, don't throw me a surprise party, blah, blah, blah. Just tell me if you're going to throw me a party.
I promise I'll act surprised.
Yeah. So, but then he gets freaked the hell out. He gets a real surprise. So his friend Fred, the mannequin, moved out somewhere in the middle of I don't know where that was.
I thought it was in front of like Union Station, or it was some kind of historical building he was in front of.
Yeah, I think you're right. He was Union Station. He's just out there. And that's pretty scary.
Yeah,
right?
That was creepy. That was creepy because I was like, is there like a gang of other immune humans or something like that? And it was pretty creepy. Because he loses his shit. He loses his mind. Because that's out of his routine. It's out of order. It'll throw off his entire day. So, and as someone who is a creature of routine, sometimes it's when one little thing inconveniences your routine, it's like, what do I do now?
There's a lot that would go through your head, right? It's like, is that a person?
Mm-hmm.
Did someone move that thing? Like, what am I crazy? Right?
Like screwing with him. Like he knows there's nobody else there except the Darkseekers, and he couldn't possibly be them.
Yeah. Yeah, because you would think like I would if it was me, I would think I've gone insane. This is it. This is that point where it breaks, you know.
Exactly.
Because a human can only take so much isolation, right?
Exactly. And like again, it cripples his routine, and you can even tell, like, did he move it? Did maybe he do it and he's just forgetting? Because it's all part of the scenario. Maybe he's changing his scenario to be new.
Because he moved them in the first place. It's not like they were just there before. He took them from some department store and put them in front of this thing so that he could like talk to them and feel like it was a normal life for him.
Exactly.
Yeah, but this totally freaks him out. So then he's like, Fred, are you real? What's going on? And then he just shoots him, and he just starts shooting up in the air. And then he sort of inspects it further, and there's like a little puddle. And then he steps in the puddle, and it's a snare. He gets trapped in a snare.
Yep.
And so he gets ensnared in this thing, and he's hanging up there until who knows how long. Yeah, he gets his head hit on the concrete. And yeah, he's like in a bad situation. Like this is really bad.
Well, also the mannequin being moved, not only does it throw off his routine, but it also inadvertently makes him lose his focus, because he gets careless, and maybe because he almost hesitates, he almost doesn't step in the puddle, because what would be in there, like he has no reason to think that there would be something in there, but it does definitely make him lose his focus a little bit.
Yeah, it totally, it was, again, like it's an intelligent thing that's doing this.
Exactly. Something was watching him. Something knows he interacts with this thing, and something has seen him do something similar with a snare before. And what else has done that?
Yeah. There's this really interesting moment in this scene where like the mannequin does move.
It does?
Yeah, it does. It moves. It's like that. It's like very slight. But there's a shot. There's a shot where it moves. It's like really, but it does move. It does move.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah. It's really, really creepy.
I know I'm shrouded in darkness right now, but my face is really freaking. I'm like,
Yeah. So that was really well done. This whole thing with Fred.
Mm-hmm.
So then he's stuck in the snare, and basically he's stuck there until like nighttime, and then he finally comes to, and his dog is there with him, just trying to get him to do something, because she's powerless to help him, but he's just hanging there in the air, and it's
sun's going down.
Yeah, exactly. The sun's going down. And so then he finally comes to. He gets out a knife and he cuts himself down, like very painstakingly cuts himself down from this thing.
Yeah.
And then he falls on another trap that sticks. It's like a knife that sticks him into his thigh.
You see, I was at first I thought he had stabbed himself by accident because you're falling and you can't. You're not really thinking of letting go of the knife necessarily. So I thought he had accidentally stabbed himself, but I guess it was just part of the trap.
He might. I'm not sure. That might have been. I'm not totally sure.
I feel like it's one of those things that could definitely go either way because if you're again, like he's already disoriented because all that blood's been rushing to his head for who knows how long. You know, people make accidents and mistakes with knives all the time. I've seen people do really stupid things with knives working at a restaurant, so it makes total sense that he would accidentally stab himself.
Yeah.
Falling.
Yeah. So he's in a really bad spot here, and so now he can't even walk. He can't even take the thing out of his thigh.
Oof.
So then he's like crawling. He's literally crawling on the ground to get back to his car. And then night keeps falling, and then he sees out of the building the alpha zombie dude thing comes out, and he's got
pets.
He's got 2 freaking dogs. And then he unleashes the dogs on them, and so then there's this massive fight between his dog and the other 2 dogs. This is a pretty sucky situation, right? Because the dog, basically, Samantha just sacrifices herself to save him, pretty much.
She's a good dog.
Yeah, she's a good dog.
In movie dog history, this is a very good dog.
I was thinking, like, this has to be one of the great movie dogs, right?
I feel like someone should make a list. There should be a list of, like, the top 10 or 15, whatever, like, best movie dogs, because... Damn, Samantha just went for it.
Has to make the top 10. I mean, obviously there's like Lassie, and then there's Beethoven.
Beethoven was good.
The Dalmatians, 101 Dalmatians.
Or like the dogs from Babe.
Yeah.
They make it
from Babe. Yeah. Then there's Lady and the Tramp for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one. Samantha's a dog you want in the apocalypse, right?
Yes, she's a good post-apocalyptic doggy for sure.
Like these other dogs, they're cute or whatever. Is Lady from Lady and the Tramp gonna save you from a freaking zombie?
No.
Well, she might bark at him, but like she's not gonna save you. She's not gonna save you.
No. Well, plus, like, Sam is a German Shepherd. They're known for their protectiveness. It's not a coincidence that she's a German Shepherd. I feel like that was a very wise, smart choice for that breed. High intelligence, protectiveness, loyalty. Like Shepherds are very, very good dogs.
Yeah, it's trained to be that type of a dog.
Yeah, and I actually read. So I guess 2 dogs played Sam. And one of them was taken from a shelter like weeks before filming began.
That's crazy, right?
She like nailed all of her training and everything like that. And that's the dog they primarily used because she was just so responsive and wanted to do what she was being told to do, basically. So yeah, I also read that Will Smith really wanted to adopt her, and the trainer said no, which I can't imagine saying no to Will Smith. If he's offering to like adopt a dog from me, like that's crazy.
Well, the dog is probably, to be honest, pretty valuable. I think that's a part of it, right? Like a dog that will do what you want. I mean, this has to be a famous dog, right?
It's gotta be a famous dog. On top of that, she's just like, you can tell he's very present with the dog because working with animals in movies has always been like, it hasn't always been safe.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's been made a lot safer for actors and stunt people to work with animals. I mean, it's a domesticated dog, so it's not like working with a real lion or something. But yeah, he seemed very present with her, with everything, and the dogs, whichever one they were using at the time, were very good with him, and it was nice to see that. And I like that he takes her training in the movie so seriously because it is life or death. It really, really is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is what the scene shows, and it's so sad.
Yeah, because so there's 2 of these dogs, and so he's fighting off the dogs. and he shoots one of them, and then the second one's like up in his face, and then she intervenes but gets bit pretty much by the zombie dog. He's able to kill him, but she gets bit and she's turning, and then he takes her home, and then we get like this is it. This is some sad stuff. He's down there with the dog, and he's singing Bob Marley to her, "Don't worry about a thing."
Mm-hmm.
And she starts turning into a zombie.
Well, it's so quick too.
Yeah.
Like it's so quick. It's not like a gradual, slow thing. Like first her fur comes off, and we already know that the zombies are bald, they're hairless.
Yeah.
And then he checks her gums and her eyes, and it's too late.
Yeah, it's too late. And then he pretty much just smothers her, and
that moment when she goes to bite him is so scary because she's gone at that point. It's not her anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really sad scene.
And he it seems like he waits until she turns, you know what I mean? Because
he didn't want to kill her.
Yeah, he waits until she's not there anymore, so I guess maybe it's easier for him.
Yeah. I was looking up. So this scene, it was voted one of the saddest scenes of all time.
Yeah. I was bawling my eyes out. Oh my god.
It's pretty devastating. It's pretty devastating stuff.
Because it's the last thing too. It's like it's the last straw. It's the last thing that connects him to his wife and his daughter, and that's it. Like he
goes crazy.
I think the dog in a way was also keeping him alive, to be honest. Yeah, I think it was keeping him alive. I think it was giving him a reason, because it's something to have you seen Afterlife with Ricky Gervais?
No, I don't think I have.
Well, in that, his wife passes away of cancer, and he had just got her a puppy.
Uh-huh.
And it's a very similar breed. It's a shepherd breed. And throughout the whole series of the first season, he wants to kill himself, but he doesn't, because every time he wants to, the dog intervenes, and it's the only thing keeping him from killing himself. And it's the healing power of dogs is very, very, very strong.
Yeah. So then Sam is gone. He goes, he buries her, and he has this sort of it's like a bad day, I guess.
Yeah, it's a really bad birthday.
It's a bad day. So then he goes around town again, trying to I think he's just trying to keep himself sane, see if he can. He goes to the video store, and then he talks to the mannequin with the black hair, and he says hello to her, and
he's like, "Speak to me."
Yeah, and then I think at that point, after that, he's done.
Yeah.
So he pretty much tries to commit suicide.
Yeah, he has nothing left. There's no point anymore.
Suicide and this is again this was like the plan of the Darkseeker.
Yep, lure him out.
Well, also make him go crazy. Either kill him or kill the dog. Throw him off. Tell him, be like, I know how I can get to you. And he, Robert then does that. He does this whole thing where he stays out at night. He's in his car. He makes he basically creates a trap for the Darkseekers, where they think it's him and they attack it, but then it's not him, and so then he runs them over with his car.
These are very resilient zombies too. These are very resilient. They just bounce. You know what I mean?
They do. Yeah, it's like boing, and then they're like attacking him in the next second.
They really are made of rubber. Look, boing.
Yeah, and so then they're on a pier or something, and he runs a bunch of them over. They bounce off. And then, they just go to town on him in the car. They, one of them jumps on a lamppost and then jumps down onto him. And he's got a gun and he's shooting at him. But it's, there's too many of them. There's, dozens of them. And then the car flips over. And the alpha was, about to kill him. And then something saves him. Someone saves him. And then she's like, "Oh, where do you live? What are you doing?" Blah, blah, blah. And he gives the address. and then he there's like another flashback. I think in this flashback, actually, this is the one where the Brooklyn Bridge gets blown up, not the last one.
Yeah.
But yeah, regardless, they get on the helicopter goes away, bridge blows up. He gets the dog. Yeah.
Yeah, he sees like a bunch of people jumping onto another helicopter, and like it forces it to like start spinning.
It's total
Pandemonium.
believable chaos, right?
Yes.
Like considering what we know about how the world ends, basically, right?
With a bang, not a whimper.
Yeah, and no toilet paper.
And no toilet paper could be found, like it's really crazy.
Yeah.
People were really concerned about having the shits for some reason.
That is like the weirdest thing, right? I mean, it makes sense that
it's so kind of lost on me when the toilet paper thing started.
Yeah, it's really honestly people just panic, right?
Yeah,
that's all you can say.
Like canned goods are more important. Like, I mean, yeah, having toilet paper is good. But food, water, like
it just shows you like the human psychology, like there's nothing rational there.
Well, no, because like, those people think they need a lot of toilet paper. I think that means I must need a lot of toilet paper. They must know something I don't.
Yeah. Because you know what it is, right? Like one person saw someone take like 15 of them, right? And then they're like, well, I got to get 16.
Exactly.
and that's it. Then it's over. Because then now there's a shortage. And so then you go into that. There's a name for it. I forget exactly what it is. But it's a mentality of when you see there's a pot of something and people are just grabbing. When you see that, people just grab. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
People don't eat. So like, yeah, they've done these experiments like in basically game theory kind of stuff. So they have this. If there's like a bowl, let's say that there's 4 people and there's a bowl with $4. If you just say go, whoever goes for it gets the most. People just grab, right? Mm-hmm. They showed that the way to get people out of that, you have to create an incentive that allows people to want to cooperate. So it's like if everyone so let's say there's a bowl, there's 4 people, there's 4 $20 bills. If you have no rules, people are just going to grab as many as they can. But if you create a rule where it's like, okay, if everyone takes one, everyone gets an extra $10, then they'll be rational.
And then they'll be rational. When you create rules, it's like rules work or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that's why the toilet paper thing happened. There were no rules, and people just freaked out. And then people just like, I want to grab as much as I can out of the bowl.
Well, I should give it also like because they were telling us not to leave our homes too, like unless you have to for work or something like that. So the chances of going to the grocery store were going to be very limited. So that I do understand that part of it, but it was like again, like.
But no one needs to take like 20 things of toilet paper, right?
No, like how much are you using? Like Jesus.
Because again, it's not even about having it to use it. It's just having it. Exactly. It's that mentality. It's the mentality of like, I got to grab as much as I can because I'm selfish. So, yeah. So then Robert wakes up the next day. And so this is a really interesting scene where like, he sees Anna. It's Anna and Ethan. But then when he first looks into the kitchen, he sees his family for like a second. He sees them, and then he's like, "Wait, what?" He does a double take, and he sees it's these other people. And then they kind of, it's a little uneasy, right? Because he's just had one of those crazy moments,
It's a little tense.
Yeah, it's because Anna's like, can I trust this guy? Is he crazy?
Yeah, is he gonna turn on us? Like,
by the way, the actress who plays Anna, what's her name? Alice Braga. One of the great actors, I would say. She was. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie City of God.
I haven't. No, I don't think I've seen her in a lot of things.
Yeah, so I would definitely recommend City of God. It's one of my favorite films of all time. It's very violent. It is a Brazilian gangster movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sort of very akin to something like Goodfellas, or like Casino, the kind of Scorsese movies. It's very much like that. It's like following these very violent gangs in Brazil in like the 60s and 70s. But she plays this character in that, and she was very young in it, who's like the girlfriend of this. I think she's the girlfriend of the journalist person. But anyway, I believe she's Brazilian, and she's a great actor. Very cool. And so we get some interesting moments between the two of them, right? Because she's very kind of tense.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of have to sit down and they have breakfast. And then she starts talking about, oh yeah, there's this colony in Vermont. Of course it'd be Vermont, right?
Of course.
And he's like, you're crazy. There's no colony. Everyone's dead. Everyone's dead. And he just goes crazy, right?
Yeah, he has a little bit of a meltdown.
Yeah.
He hasn't been around people in a long time.
Like you were saying, it's the guilt, right?
Mm.
He's like, oh no, everyone's dead, but I'm gonna fix it.
Exactly. It's that he's taking everything on himself, but he's just one person. And he hasn't even really given it any thought that other people who might also have survived might be trying to do the same thing that he's doing. Because he is so isolated in his mind, he is the only person left now.
Yeah.
And that's a huge burden for one person to carry around. Yeah. On top of the fact that he does feel responsible. He put his family in that helicopter and look what happened.
Yeah.
He thought Sam was safe with him and she wasn't. But that's not his fault. It's the elements that surrounded it. It's the circumstance. Like, there was no way that he could have kept Sam 100% safe.
Yeah, Sam's a dog.
Exactly. And in the end, Sam was the one who kept him completely safe. Like, so it's just that guilt keeps mounting. So he feels responsible for everyone he cared about being dead.
Mm-hmm. What'd you think of the Shrek scene?
Oh, I thought it was sweet. I thought it was really sweet. I come from a family who loves movies, and we will do exactly what he did while watching a movie. Like, we'll just start going along with it as if we're in it. And I thought it was cute.
Yeah, that was a nice moment. And then we get a whole bunch of like kind of sweet, nice stuff. Like, he kind of calms down a little bit. And then they talk about Bob Marley, and he's really into Bob Marley. He named his daughter Marley.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's talking about this. He just loves Bob Marley. He just talks about he sings these different songs and stuff. But then we get to this point where the two of them have a very big difference of opinions.
Oh, yeah.
This will be fun to talk about. So Anna says, oh, well, God told me to find you.
At that point in the movie, I thought she was going to be crazy. I thought she was going to be like a genuine, like, crazy person who's just like
a Jesus freak kind of.
Exactly. Like
culty kind of shit. Yeah.
But she's not. She's just a woman who has a faith, and that's what she's been clinging to. He's been clinging to science to try and save everyone, and she's been clinging to her faith because that's all she really has.
Yeah. And one other thing that I kind of forgot to mention. So, like, at the beginning, we see him, part of his daily routine is he sends out this signal, this message, hey, I'm Robert Neville, I'm here, meet me at this place at this time. And Anna even says, oh yeah, we're at the pier or whatever, and we're there like all day, but you never came because he was on the suicide pact, basically. And then this is a really interesting conversation because he's like, no, you didn't come because of God. I sent a signal, and then you heard that.
Exactly. She's like, oh, but God had me turn on the radio that day or something. And
it's And she's like, no, there is a colony. And he's like, how do you know there's a colony?
I just know.
I just know.
She's going on faith. He needs proof. And again, that shows the very stark difference is that she's just going on faith.
Yeah. Let me see if I can pull up. He has this great. He says
Mhm.
this thing. The next thing he says is just like
It's
devastating.
brutal. It's so it's so devastating, and it's so.
But also, it's right. It's from like a scientific.
It's true. It's facts, and it's cold, and it's mean, and it's hard, and it's a big pill to swallow.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it. Oh yeah. Let me tell you about God's plan. There were 7 billion people on Earth when the infection hit. KV had a 90% kill rate. That's 5.4 billion people dead. They crashed and bled out, dead. Less than 1% immunity. That left 12 million healthy people like you and me and Ethan. The other 588 million turned into dark seekers. And then they got hungry and they killed and fed on everybody. Everybody. Every single person that you or I has ever known is dead. Dead. There is no God.
Well, also it adds that survivor guilt too. Like, I'm immune. Why am I immune? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
There's so much guilt, like, why were we immune to this and everybody else we care about isn't?
I think he really sold this moment very well. Because there's a lot built up into this moment, right? It's all his insecurities, basically.
And maybe he can't fix it. Because against those numbers, can he really do it by himself? You know what I mean? Like, that's what he has in the back of his mind every time he tries a new serum or a new vaccine.
Yeah.
He has all of these numbers that are against him. He has the math is literally telling him no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought this this scene definitely worked.
Yeah, and it hurts her. It hurts her bad. But it's again, facts and science are mean and cruel sometimes. But only because it's true, but not because they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And
totally.
And you do know that he is a man of faith, because before he put his family on the helicopter, they pray.
They do pray.
They pray. They pray. So he lost. That's also something he lost. He lost his faith, which that hurts, dude.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you see your family die, and like the whole world, like it's, what's good about this is like he can see the scope of it. A billion people, like.
That's a lot of fucking people.
That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's gonna change your conception of reality.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So then the Dark Seekers tracked them to his house because Anna didn't, put down the Lysol or whatever, the the vinegar.
They also went there at night too.
Yeah. So they were able to see.
They were able to track him and everything like that. Because again, she's not accustomed to his routine. She's not accustomed to this environment, because Dark Seekers might be different from where she came from, as opposed to how they're hiding now. So it's Anna kind of fucked up.
Yeah,
she didn't mean to. She didn't mean to.
Yeah, she didn't know. Yeah, and so then we get this crazy scene. So like he's they come for the townhouse. He has a plan. So he had these explosives rigged. And so then he lets them loose and kills a bunch of them. But they're able to, then break the barriers. And then this scene gets really crazy, right? So then there's Dark Seekers in the hallway, and he's trying to shoot at them. Then another one breaks through the ceiling and is threatening Anna and Ethan, and he has to like fight through them.
And all those works of art, I was thinking about that too. I'm like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah, they're just gonna destroy everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, what'd you think? Did this scene work for you? Because they're trying to sort of build some suspense. A couple of moments.
At that point, it's just overrun. The termites have infested everything. They're in the house. There's no way of getting out. Like, it's not like townhouses, from what I understand, have back doors or anything like that. Maybe there's a fire escape, but sometimes these are row houses, which are like literally like one, right? Like they're all like connected to each other. So Yeah, there's really nowhere for them to go except to try and make some kind of a stand somewhere.
Yeah, so they make their stand in the lab. They get into the lab, but then the Darkseekers are even still going into the lab.
Oh yeah, they bust down that door like it's in like a paper. Like, oh no, we'll be fine. Boom.
Yeah. Yeah, and so then we get this there's a couple different versions of the ending. I'm pretty sure the version we both watched. So this one, so they get down there, they see that the Darkseeker has actually been cured. The woman, and so yeah, she's like back to health or whatever. But then the Darkseekers don't care at all. They're like busting down, and he's like trying to plead with them, like I could cure you, I could help you. And it's like, dude, they don't.
Well, no, because at this point he's trying to plead to whatever intelligence. Because at one point in the movie, he's walking around the city with Anna, and he's going back to where he got caught, and he's like, "This is my snare. This is the same exact technique that I used to trap the Darkseeker. It couldn't have known to recreate it. You know, his mind is really struggling with the fact that this thing, there is a consciousness, there is an intelligence there, however primitive it might have been." Or de-evolved, there's something there that figured it out. It's very primordial. It's very primitive in the sense of primates, watching humans and studying them and then copying them. And it copied exactly what it did. He turned it around on them in a more horrifying way, but it figured it out. And I think that's when in the lab, when he's trying to plead his case to them, basically, he's trying to break through to that intelligence that's lurking there just below the surface.
And he never sees them really as human. Like there's a scene earlier where it's him and Anna were looking at the woman, and Anna calls it her, and he calls them it.
Yep.
Like, he just doesn't see them as anything, and like he's not human.
Associated from them, yeah.
Yeah.
And she kind of seems kind of horrified when she sees all the pictures on the wall.
Like he's killed so many of them.
Well, at that point, it's almost like a mad scientist moment. You know what I mean? Like there's some elements of a mad scientist there, because there's just hundreds of these pictures of these dead Darkseekers that he's just been experimenting on, and she still sees them as people. Because I wonder if it's because she was more on the ground level of things, because she said she worked for not the Red Cross, but she worked for some kind of organization that was on the ground floor of everything. She was seeing these people deteriorate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was seeing it under a microscope.
Yeah. Yeah, he saw it. Yeah, he's definitely, like you said, he's disassociated, and yeah, he's killed dozens of them.
Yeah. So there is that moment where she's kind of like, you're kind of crazy.
Yeah, he's a bit crazy. But yeah, so then in this, so like then the alpha shows up, and he like bangs on the window, and he makes this kind of butterfly symbol, and then he's like, oh, he wants her back.
Yeah. So this all started after I kidnapped his mate.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Whoops.
So then he brings her back. He gives her back to the alpha dude, and they just bounce.
Yeah, they have like this really like tender moment where they like recognize each other. So there's memory. So there is, friendship or family or mate association with one another. And he just feels so bad because his family got torn apart and died and everything. And then he just did the same thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Why would you spare the lion?
Yeah, but not Darkseeker.
But not the Darkseeker, who is very similar to an animal at this point,
Totally. And so then they leave, and then him and Anna and Ethan, they go off on their journey to, I guess, try and find this colony. And that's the movie.
I almost wish you and I had watched different endings.
Yeah.
Just to have like a different take on it and stuff, because from what I understand, he blows everything up in the alternate in the theatrical release, right?
Yeah, that was the thing that I saw. Like I saw this when it came out, and yeah, he basically the Darkseekers are gonna get in, and there's no, but Anna and Ethan escape out the back,
Oh,
There's
so they do
some-
have a back door.
There's some back door, and they get out of it, and he blows up a bomb and kills himself. And then I believe that, I don't know if this is an alternate ending, but I think that's part of that ending. You see Anna and Ethan get to the colony, and they have his blood, and they're like, oh yeah, blah blah blah. Basically, that's how they get the I Am Legend thing. It's like, oh yeah, he was a legend, and he sacrificed himself, and he found the cure, or whatever. Very different again from the book. But yeah, that was the other ending. Was he blows himself up and he sacrifices himself.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been happy with that ending. I prefer the alternate ending where they leave, because it's more hopeful. Honestly, it's a happier ending, and he finally lets New York go. He lets it go.
He needs to let New York go. Yeah, because they're driving on the bridge. They're out.
Yeah, I thought they blew up the bridges though. Well, I'm sure there's more than one bridge.
I'm guessing they took the George. Will they take the George Washington Bridge?
I know nothing about New York City, so I'm the wrong person to ask.
I've actually driven on the George Washington Bridge, and it's it sucks.
I've driven on a bridge out of Queens. I have no idea. I honestly have no idea.
Yeah, I think that was the George Washington Bridge, because they would go, because you gotta just getting out of New York is like crazy, because I think you gotta go like this.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. Like when I was driving out of Queens, it was terrible. It was so awful.
Driving in New York in general is just like a bad idea. Pretty much.
I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it.
Yeah. So yeah, those were the two endings. So yeah, you like the happier ending.
Yeah, it's just because he deserves it, man. Like he just deserves it at that point. Like, yeah, he deserves a happy ending, not just for me and as an audience member, but just the character himself. Like, leave New York behind, let it go. New York is lost. New York can't be saved. Like,
and because he has this whole thing, he's like, oh, I can't leave. This is ground zero. This is my site.
Yeah, I have to stay here. He's still in that like job mentality of like, I'm assigned here. I need to work here. I need to stay here. Also, it's where his family was. It's where he raised his family and made memories and stuff. But
it's like, dude, you're not a new lieutenant colonel anymore. Like, this is the apocalypse.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's you and the deer and the lion and some other people. Like, no, it's over. So, do you want to discuss the book ending, or do you want to?
No, yeah. Tell me what the book ending is. I want to know.
So the book is, man, this is a really one of the great plot twists in all of sci-fi. So yeah, he's going around killing. But in the book, they're basically vampires, and he's killing them. He kills them. That's what he does. He's not even trying to like cure them or any of this. I don't believe so. I think he's just killing them, but he's trying to find a way to like basically restart civilization. And he's killing them, and then finally they catch him, and he realizes that they have created an alternative civilization, the vampires, and he's basically like a demon. He's the thing that you're afraid of. He's
the bad guy.
He's the bad guy. He is the bad guy. Yeah, he's the bad guy, and so and that's why it's I Am Legend. I am the legend that you tell. Hey, kids, don't go out in the day, or else this thing will kill you. At the end of the book, they kill him. They kill him. They catch him and they kill him, and that's it. Yeah, it's totally. And what's so crazy is there's no interpretation of the story where they go there. They never go there. They just never go there. But that's so much more interesting, right? On a lot of levels.
That's one hell of a plot twist.
Yeah, it is one of the great plot twists of all sci-fi.
I can't wait for my sister to finish reading that so she can tell me that. That's gonna blow her mind. That is crazy. Well, because we're supposed to root for the hero, you know what I mean? Like, why?
Human, right? He's human like us.
Exactly.
They touch on some of the same things. Again, it's a guy who can't get over it. Like, that's this character in this movie. He needs to get over it. He needs to say, okay, I gotta move on. I failed. I can't restart civilization on my own. I just need to, let it go.
Move on, dude. Like, it's lost. Like,
yeah.
You have to admit when you've lost sometimes.
Yeah.
Even if it's the end of civilization.
Exactly. Yeah. So, what would you rate the scariness level of this film for you?
That's the thing. Besides the creepy sounds that we first hear when he's in the bathtub in the beginning of the movie, I thought that was really creepy. The scene when he's in the dark trying to find Sam, still kind of in the beginning of the film, I thought was scary. As soon as they came out into the light, I didn't find them that scary anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, they're different kind of zombies because they're coordinated and they are intelligent to an extent. They're not just like Walking Dead zombies, which I think is terrible. But no, I thought that was scary to think that they are faster, strong. They have inhuman strength, and they come at night. Like tons of people are scared of the dark. But overall, they just look like rubber bands with faces. Like it was that I can't get over how dumb that extending jaw looked. It just looked so bad to me.
That was really goofy for sure. Yeah.
The human jaw does not extend that far. Like it goes down his neck. Like it just.
Yeah, it was like down to here.
Yeah, like I like the deterioration of like their teeth and like the redness in their eyes. There's no color to their face. They look sick. That's what I liked, is that they did look sick. But yeah, other than like the close-ups of the butterfly alpha female zombie, I didn't think it looked that good.
Yeah. That's why I kind of like all the stuff at the beginning before we really see him.
Yeah.
And even in that scene, where he goes to save Sam, we don't really see them until he jumps out the window.
Exactly. Yeah, and it didn't. I thought maybe the payoff in 2007 was good, but it's not the movie's fault it didn't age well. You know what I mean? Like, because we've talked about before, like film visual effects literally evolve overnight. New teams from different movies will create a new way of doing something with every new feature film that requires it. So it's not the movie's fault, but I didn't find them that scary towards the end.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, how'd you feel about the Will Smith performance? Do you think that he really...
Oh yeah, he was great. Yeah, he was great. It's not normally something that I feel like he's doing more of these movies now, I feel like. But yeah, I thought he was really good, especially that speech when he's having his argument with Anna. Like that was very, very good.
Yeah, that was like sort of the crux of his character for sure. Cool. Yeah. Do you have any I guess parting thoughts? Any last things about this film?
Not really, except that I kind of want to watch more Will Smith movies now. Like I've seen like some of the good ones, but like I still love him in Independence Day. I love him in that movie. What is that one movie he did with his son that's supposed to be really bad?
Ooh, After Earth.
Yeah, I kind of want to watch that.
It's a Shyamalan movie.
It is?
Uh-huh.
I like Shyamalan did that.
That was basically the end for Shyamalan. When he did, I believe that was the film. He did that, and he also did Avatar: The Last Airbender. Those two things like put him in jail.
You're in jail. You're gonna go hang out with Mel Gibson for a while and think about what you did.
Yeah, that put him into. Well, I think it was basically 3 actually. I think the one that those two. So those two, they were like, okay, we're never gonna give you a budget over whatever, $50 million. Then he did Lady in the Water. Then he did Lady in the Water too, and then they're like, okay, we're done with you. We're done with you.
He's redeeming himself a little bit,
Oh, big time. Yeah. I mean, he's made a big comeback. He just finished another film. He finished, I believe it was in December. This movie called Old. So that'll come out this year. He's got a TV show on Apple, Servant, which I like. I watch it. But unfortunately, everyone you have to no one has Apple TV.
Yeah.
No one has, so no one watches it.
Yeah, I know we don't.
Yeah.
Alexa, turn on the main light. Okay, she's not listening. Oh, she listened. That's not even that much better.
Yeah, After Earth. That's yeah, that's definitely a curious watch.
Because I like watching movies that piss people off.
Have you seen the movie called, I think it's Focus, is this movie he did with Margot Robbie?
No.
Yeah, he plays like, I think, a con artist or something like that. It's kind of like a Matchstick Men kind of thing. And Margot Robbie, it's one of those gang of thieves kind of movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
I feel like a lot of heist movies came out in 2020.
Oh, what kind of movies?
Like heist movies, almost. Like Six Underground came out. Or maybe not necessarily heist movies, but like group ensemble movies. So there was Six Underground, there was The Old Guard. I feel like there was a couple others. Yeah. I loved The Old Guard. It was so good.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, you did a review of it, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's basically Highlander, but it's fine because it's still fun.
It's Highlander with that cool axe that Charlize has.
The axe. Get rid of the bow and arrow. I'm over it. Give me more axes.
That axe should have been more in that movie. I think. She should have.
It was the most underused character in the film.
Remember that fight at the church? She should have been killing them with the axe at the church.
Yeah, but she also looks great with a gun. Like Charlize Theron can go wrong. Like there was even like I was watching, maybe it was like the 3rd or 4th season of Buffy, and there is a Charlize Theron reference where they're just like, I think a girl is just like, oh yeah, Charlize Theron is everything. And I was like, even then, like Charlize Theron was great.
Well, she was very big in the 90s. She blew up, like, I feel like she blew up immediately.
Oh yeah.
Because like she was in was it the Devil's Advocate? She was in that in like 95 or something?
Oh, and from there it was just
yeah, she was huge. Yeah, right?
I follow her on Instagram. That's how much I love her. Is that I don't follow a lot of celebrities on Instagram, but I will follow Charlize Theron anywhere.
Yeah, she's a superstar. Right? She's a superstar. Yeah, did you like Six Underground? I've never finished that movie.
I enjoyed it. It was very long. It was very, very long. And it's Ryan Reynolds playing himself at this point. You know what I mean? He's basically Deadpool, but not. It was entertaining. It's definitely an entertaining movie, and there's parts of it where you're just like, oh my God, that just happened. And then it's really funny at times. But I liked it. Oh, and there was that other one with Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, Extraction.
Extraction was really good because it had that Escape from New York feel that I really love movies like that.
Yeah, that was a cool one.
I really enjoyed Extraction. I thought that one was probably one of my favorites. Even though it's not really an ensemble, he still has like a team that's trying to get him out. So I kind of count it in that field, but or that genre. But that one was pretty good.
So those are your 2020 favorites?
Action movies. I watched a lot of action movies in 2020. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I don't think so. I really want to see Antlers.
I do too, yeah. That was another COVID casualty. Unfortunately. I've watched a lot. There's a couple things I still want to watch. Some of the indie stuff, those are the things that I'm trying to get after. But Soul was really good.
Was that the new Pixar one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that film was really good. I saw Wonder Woman. That was divisive.
Yeah, I'm still not sure if
probably the best way to put it.
I still don't know if I want to see Wonder Woman 2. I really liked the first one, besides the ending, which I didn't care for. I didn't like the ending.
Yeah, no, the ending really kind of like. I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, okay, that CGI villain thing was trash.
It's like, wow, I'm watching a scene from a computer game.
Yeah, and it kind of soured me on the other things that were good about it. But there's a lot of good until they get to that.
Oh yeah, there's so much good until they get to that moment with, David Thewlis CGI head on top of a muscular Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson body, which is so unbelievably bad.
It's just so unnecessary, right?
You're telling me Remus Lupin is a bodybuilder all of a sudden?
Yeah, they found some Greek dude. They put his head on it.
They literally just put his head on another person's body, and I was so unimpressed. I'm like, this is so stupid. You just spent more money. That's all you did. You just spent more money when you could have just hired one person. Like,
yeah, exactly. I felt the same way about like the end of Black Panther. It's like, okay, then we get this cool stuff, like all this like kind of intelligent, interesting stuff. Oh, and then it's like two computer animation things fighting each other.
yeah. Still a good movie. I still like Black Panther, but
oh yeah.
It's like the ending just isn't as good as the first. Like the third act just can't top the first two. They try too hard. One of the things I loved about Wonder Woman was her vulnerability, her kindness. She's so nice. It's so refreshing because sometimes you see heroines and they have to be really hard, and they're
overly tough.
They're overly tough, and they can't be vulnerable because girls in action scenarios have to be stone cold badasses or something like that while wearing leather pants and doing jujitsu. Which is what Buffy is. Buffy has an incredibly difficult time being vulnerable, which is part of her own character. But then you have this Wonder Woman character who is totally fine with being vulnerable. She has no issue with it whatsoever. And she's so unfairly kind. She makes everyone look bad.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, there's been some stuff with Patty Jenkins. And she like she's just sort of on a Festivus tour, and she just said, "Oh yeah, that part." She literally was like, "Oh yeah, that thing at the end of Wonder Woman, they made me do it, and I didn't want to do it." And then people, yeah, for real, she said that, and she was like, you know, and then people hate that part of the movie, and I'm like, well, they made me do it. Like, what the hell?
That doesn't surprise me at all because it seems like something a studio would make a director do because it's so formulaic, it's so unsurprising. It's just another monster of the movie week at the box office, and it's like, which is fine if that's what it's going to be through and through. You know, I'm not going to a Wonder Woman movie to see a Godzilla villain. Like no, I'm not going to see Batman to see Tigger. Yeah. Like who cares? Like, stop making them gods because
I know. Yeah, like what if, you know, that movie ends where she just like has to, I don't know, she has to do something and then Steve sacrifices himself and then she's just sad. That works.
What if she's just sad? Like,
you know, because that's the thing that's our takeaway is that Steve dies and she just, you know, and she's just like she's heartbroken, right?
Now she's mad and she has to put her fist through some dude's face. It's like, okay.
Yeah, they kind of fundamentally didn't understand like what made the character work, you know, because like they had great material there, but they just like, well, we want to have this fight scene, and we. It's like, okay.
We already computer generated Gal Gadot's boobs into the costume, so we really just want to use it.
Yeah, so we have to shoot it. It's like,
people suck.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Yeah, I think that just about covers everything. So yeah, it's been good getting back to talking about films again.
Oh yeah.
And it's 2021. 2020 is over.
It is over, and we're hoping for nothing but good vibes coming up.
Exactly. Good vibes in the future. So thanks a lot, everybody. Take care. Peace out, and may the force be with you.